Okay, so welcome everybody. This is our sixth session and our last session of this chapter of U-Tools. This session today is called Learn to Brand Yourself, featuring Mr. Jordan that we have here with us. This is brought to you through a partnership between the University of Michigan Dearborn along with a nonprofit called Career Transitions Incorporated. We have funding through the Michigan College Access Network, virtual seminars on college access. So this session today is called Learn to Brand Yourself. If you've missed any of our other sessions, you can always access them on our YouTube channel. And at the end, we'll tell you how to get to those. But with that, we can get started. For our icebreaker, we've asked people that are able to do so to put up as a background a vacation spot that they like, either they visited or they want to visit. So I have behind me a picture of an Aruba. It's Aruba. It's a picture of a beach in Aruba. And if anybody else wants to share, Stephanie, I see you've got something behind you, and I think Alex has something behind her. If you guys want to share, and then we'll get started with the presentation.
All right, sounds good. So behind me, I have the Northern Lights in Iceland. I've always wanted to go there, just to go backpacking in the Icelandic forests, or they also have like hot springs, which I also think is pretty cool. So yeah.
Okay, I have obviously New Zealand. I've been a lot of places, and that was my all-time favorite place I've ever been. I honestly, that was 7 years ago now that I went there, 6, 7. And I honestly, for a while, was looking into trying to move there. I really, really wanted to just be there, and I loved it that much. It's so beautiful, and I just really like everything about that country. So, and I want to go back.
Okay, anybody else want to share that doesn't have a picture, but they have a place that they would love to visit or that they visited and they absolutely fell in love with it?
I would like to share.
Go ahead.
I already told you guys, but I really love Alaska. One of my favorite places. The weather is nice there. I think so myself. I love the cold. My favorite season is clearly winter. And yeah, I just love Alaska. I love Antarctica too, but that's a little too cold.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Presenter, do you want to get started?
Yep, I'm going to share my screen.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So today, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jordan, and I'll be presenting on Personal Branding 101. So definitely aligned with the title that we just went through. And so this is all about how do you bring value, how do you recognize your brand, and how do you pretty much navigate the world knowing that. So who am I? I'm actually going to minimize that. Who am I? So when people typically ask me, who am I let them know I'm Jordan. I'm the king of the jungle. And the jungle is wherever my 2 feet puts me. My goal is to be a leader, be the king, and things of that nature. Lions are my absolute favorite animal because every decision that a lion makes is going to be a boss move. So one easy way that I often tell people is that when you
Yes.
boss move.
Sorry to cut you off, but I agree with what you said. That's my favorite animal as well. I'm a Leo.
Perfect. So when you think about all of the decisions you make, and hopefully nobody gets offended by the statement I'm about to make, but every decision you make is going to be like a boss or it's going to be like a bum. It's going to fall in one of those 2 categories, every single decision. So tonight, everybody showed up tonight like a boss. Everybody's striving to be successful like a boss. And then when you making decisions that's not correlated to your future or it misrepresents your brand, you being like a bum. So always strive to have like a boss feelings, moves, reactions, decisions. and you'll always pursue directly towards your future. Excuse me, hold on 1 second. So we're going to jump into the personal branding aspect. So I'm sure everybody has heard of the term brand before, and typically when people think of brand, they automatically associate a brand with the actual logo. So on the slide, you'll see numerous company logos, and you will notice that there's a ton of logos, different shapes, different colors, and things of that nature. But the logo is kind of that stamp or that motto that automatically tells you what the company is all about or what it is. So when you think of this particular logo over here, which is the Nike sign, you'll never see the arrow upside down. If you see the Nike arrow upside down, you'll know it's counterfeit. The only reason you know what a counterfeit is because you know what the true brand is. You are the exact same way. We as individuals, we have our own brand too. And anytime that we are representing or doing something that's contrary to our brand, we're being a knockoff to our own future. So we want to make sure that when we establish and recognize what our brand is, all of our decisions are going to be aligned up to actually being that brand. So then when we, are working or when we doing entrepreneurial endeavors and things of that nature, people understand that with this brand, these are the values that comes behind this particular brand. These are just a few unique logos that you can also think of as a brand. So the logo to the left is a picture of the zoo. And what you'll notice is off rip, most people say, hey, that's a tree. But then somebody else would say, no, that's a gorilla and a lion. And their faces are kind of in shaped into the actual tree. So this is some kind of like creativity or subliminal messaging that's behind the brand to let you know, yes, it's a tree, but it's a zoo. So there's animals built into this logo. Same thing with Baskin Robbins. The average person believes that that logo at the top is a B and a R as for Baskin Robbins, but it's actually not. It's a 31 in the middle because Baskin Robbins has 31 flavors of ice cream. So you will see how creative and innovative brands are, where they can really portray everything about them, what they have to offer, all by what their brand is. So when you think of the term brand, a brand is a prescribed image, it's a trademark, it's a category of products made by the exact same company. So you have Pepsi and you have Coca-Cola. Both of them have pop, both of them have water, but they both have a distinct brand, and that brand brings competition. So your brand and your motto is basically what makes you special. So everybody's on the phone call is a human. And so if I was to ask you, what is your brand, you would really have to think about what makes you different from everybody else. And that becomes your superpower. And the moment you learn what your superpower is always going to carry with you wherever you go in life. So these are some things I want you to think about. And actually, if anybody wants to, if you're brave enough and feel courageous and want to come off mute, feel free to answer some of these questions. But when you think about your own personal brand, it's kind of built off personal perception. So there's 4 questions on there that says, what is your brand today? So, and in the real world, your brand should not change with your location. So I'm sure somebody is on this call now, like, okay, this is a educational thing. This might, so I'm a behave this way. But then how you was acting an hour ago might be drastically different. The goal is
Sorry.
that who you are as a person shouldn't change. So there's 4 prompt questions on there, and question 1 says, what is your brand today? 2 is, what was your brand yesterday? 3 is, what will your brand be tomorrow? And then 4 is, what do you want your brand to be in the far future? So part of branding is also knowing your value. And part of your value is truly knowing who you are as an individual before anybody told you who you had to be. So flawless shout out to what you just shared. There's 2 quotes up on the screen. One says, it's better to be a lion for a day than a sheep for your whole life. And sometimes people are afraid to really step up and take the lead because many people believe that there's protection in the herd. So as long as you stay in the herd, there's protection and you never have to wonder what's on the outside of the herd. And there's nothing wrong with that framework. But then there's also a framework of people whose characteristics and their brand is leadership, but they're afraid to step out and be the leader. And so never feel that you need
That's
to be
okay though.
ashamed
That's
because
okay.
you're
Sometimes be
young or things
nervous.
of that nature. That your age has nothing to do with leadership. Experience don't have nothing to do with leadership. Some people are born as leaders. Some people will learn to become leaders, but never be afraid of stepping into that leadership realm. And then a quote to the right says, "You had a purpose before anybody had an opinion." And sometimes we end up losing our purpose because we start overvaluing people's opinion. So one kind of cliche that I always use is don't seek validation from invalid people. And sometimes the society that we live in, we're trying to chase all these ideas of who should I be, and sometimes most of the time who you should be requires some self-reflection, so you really know what are the values and the goals that you have, because that is going to be what's going to be inside of your actual brand. So this particular activity, I'm gonna skip it, but I do want everybody to do this as actual homework. So if we were kind of in person, which we know COVID has us all virtual, but if we were in person, what I would normally do is I would ask everybody in the room to write down 3 characteristics about themselves. And with those 3 characteristics, you will write them down, and these are like your top characteristics, because part of brand and character is what are your characteristics. And so whatever your brand is, you'll write those things down, and then I would challenge everybody to ask maybe 5 people, what do they believe your characteristics are? And what you'll notice, and when we do this live, I've seen people say that, hey, I think I'm funny and I'm smart. And then when they ask 5 other people, somebody else said you corny and boring. So it's the polar opposite of what that person thought they were portraying. And so then we have a conversation and a discussion. And this might be a good activity for you all to do as an individual, and then maybe do it with some coworkers, some close colleagues or friends, your best friends, your family members, and things of that nature, just to see, okay, this is what I'm trying to portray, but what do you see me doing? And I think it creates a healthy conversation. uh, okay, well, I believe that I'm portraying myself to be helpful and smart and intelligent, but somebody else might say, well, you can be cocky, or you can be, arrogant and things of that nature. And so it creates kind of this, safe balance between the two. And I would challenge people, only ask people who you actually care about, because I do think there is a realm out there of haters who's always going to say something negative about you, but just having this conversation with people that you actually love. So this is kind of one of my key slides when you're thinking about what your brand is. So you see in red, there's mission statement, vision statement, goals, and strategies. So I'm gonna start with vision statement. So your vision is where you want to be at in the future. So the far future. So when I grow up, I want to be whatever that is. That's your vision. It's far out in the future. Your mission is the decisions and the moves that you make in every single day to get you to that vision. So for instance, if my vision is that I want to be a university professor in the next 5 years. That's my vision. My mission is, okay, today I'm going to get my education. Then in the summer, I'm going to shadow and interview somebody who's currently a professor. Every week, I'm going to make sure that I'm reading a book. I'm going to study how much they make and what fields that I want to teach in. So your mission is kind of those everyday decisions that's leading you up to your actual vision. And your goals are kind of these small little stepping stones that's going to help you get there. So how I mentioned that, part of my mission would be, okay, I need to read a book. My goal would be like, I want to read 2 books every single month. Now I have a goal, and then my strategy would be, I'm going to read first thing in the morning and the last thing at night, because that's the free time. So your strategies are kind of your innovative and creative ways of how you're going to accomplish your goals. And then your goals is going to inform your mission, what you're doing on a daily basis. And then those daily basis mission is going to help you get to your actual vision. When you think about your brand is your total package. So I appreciate the feedback about, I don't want to cuss. Or I'm trying to cut back on cussing, because cussing is a part of verbal communication. Might not be the most healthiest communication, but it can compromise the brand that you're trying to portray. So if I'm a speaker doing a workshop like this, and then I just get on the phone, what are my ends and this, that, and the other, y'all gonna be like, wait a minute. So your language needs to be in alignment with the brand that you're trying to portray. Your tone and your body language, all of these things. So if you say that you're a friendly person, but then your body language says that you have an attitude, those two things are a conflict. So you want to ensure that your verbal communication actually aligns up with the brand that you're trying to portray. So for instance, those who desire to go into social work or you want to become a teacher, cussing is probably something that's going to, negatively impact your brand, because you're going to be working with children or younger people, and your brand should be representing caring, nurturing, and things, that characteristics that a teacher or social worker should have. Additionally, your nonverbal communication, such as handwriting, posture, gestures, your attire, clothing, your hair, your behavior. And so all of these things should all align up to the actual brand that you're trying to portray. And your brand is typically shaped after some career path. So for instance, those of you all who might go to church, if you showed up to church and the pastor sagging his pants, got a big old chain on, he's going to kind of looking like the image of what they portray as a gangster. It's going to automatically question, all right, is this really a pastor? Another example is that I've heard commonly used is that if you had to get your wisdom teeth pulled and you went into the doctor's office or the dentist's office, and the dentist came out with a football helmet and a whole football outfit on. So he got the helmet on, he got the cleats, he got the shoulder pads. Would you still allow him to pull your wisdom teeth out? Probably not, because the attire didn't match the brand of the profession. So that's how deep, attire and nonverbal and verbal communication goes with your brand. When you all look at this picture right here, we all should be familiar with who this is. It's Dr. King. Feel free to drop it in the chat, or you can come off of mute. But what do you feel that Dr. King's brand is or was?
I feel like his brand was yeah, I agree with what Antoinette said, peace, because what comes with peace is freedom. I agree with actually what both people said in the chat.
Okay, I see peace and I see freedom. Would you all agree that Dr. King was a leader? Feel free to drop in yes or no in the chat.
I think he was. I think he was.
Excellent.
Me as well.
Even though I'm at work, so I'm trying to participate. But yeah,
It's okay.
I appreciate that. So I've heard leader, I've heard freedom, I heard peace and things of that nature. Now watch this. This is the power of brand. I'm gonna go to the next slide. You will notice drastic difference between slide 1 and then slide 2. This is the power of brand. Nobody in their mind would say, yeah, Dr. King was hanging on Linwood and got into some trouble. That's why he got locked up. Or Dr. King must have got into a fight with some gangbangers and that's why he got, or he was slinging drugs. That's why he in jail. Nobody would think that, even though he's in jail in these pictures. That's the power of brand. That when you have a brand and you really living out your life's calling and your life's purpose. And one of my favorite quotes by Dr. King, he said that if you haven't found something worth dying for, you was never fit to live. And so finding what that passion is for you in life and really pursuing that passion with all of your energy and making sure that your brand overlaps it, even when you're pursuing your passion, you're going to expect resistance. There's going to be haters in your way. There's going to be people who don't want to see you live out your purpose, especially when your purpose is about helping other people. But you will notice that when you have such a strong brand, no matter where your 2 feet walks you, nobody will ever think negativity on you. They'll automatically assume Dr. King was put in jail because he had something to do with that peace, that freedom, and all of those other characteristics that were in there. So this is just kind of a real life example of how dynamic and how powerful your brand can be, that nobody would never misrepresent or misunderstand why you might be in the situations. You won't lose supporters, you won't lose followers and things of that nature because your brand remains dynamic. And so when you think of branding, it's also part of your character. So we kind of talked about that a little bit earlier about different characteristics. And character is pretty much your individual actions, patterns, and behaviors. And these are things that are portrayed, represented, and they all align to a reputation. So there's a little box or a little meme down at the bottom. It talks about things that money can't buy, things such as manners, morals, respect, character, common sense, trust, patience, class, integrity, and love. You can have all the money in the world and not have none of those 10 things. So character is pretty much how are you how are you interacting with individuals? What are your values and your morals? It's kind of all wrapped under the umbrella of character. So what a bigger word of character is characteristic. So on this particular slide, I have 4 animals on this slide. And off rip, we all know what these animals are. But then when we talk about what are the characteristics of these animals, then we can almost have a conversation. So let's start over to the right. When you see a mouse, or some people would say it's a rat, it's a mouse though. But what are the characteristics of a mouse? What's the first thing you think of when you think of a mouse? Yeah, so there's a picture of a mouse, a snake, an elephant, and a lion. So feel free to name any. So when you think of a snake, what are some characteristics of a snake? They trying to bite you. They're slippery. They're kind of sneaky a little bit. When you think of an
Yeah,
elephant, what's some characteristics of an elephant?
nurture.
Nurturing. Them together in a family, so they walk together as a family. Learning character and branding is being conscious of what are the characteristics. So the exact same way that we explain these animals is, what if we thought about what are the characteristics of myself? Is somebody, can they name, if I was to ask your mother or your father or a family member, auntie or uncle, or one of the program coordinators affiliated with the program, hey, what's the character of this individual person? Would it be positive, or would it be like the snake, sneaky? Or would it be like the mouse, scary? Or would it be like the lion, the leader? Or would it be like the elephant, family oriented, helpful, calm, relaxing, and things of this nature? And so the next slide talks about, it's a statement by Dr. King, but he talks about intelligence plus character. That is the true goal of education. And on the picture to the right, there's a gentleman that's trying to look out of a window, and you will notice that looking out this window, he's one, picture number 1, he's stacked on all this money, and he doesn't have a view because he has all the money in the world, but he doesn't have, the knowledge and the competency, such as the values and things of that nature that we covered before. The picture down at the bottom, he has all of the textbook knowledge and things of that nature, but he don't have money. The third picture is kind of this equal balance between, I got my book smarts, I got, my goals, my visions, my missions, and then I'm able to balance that out with my income and my revenues. And then the person to the last person, the last person, he just pretty much has nothing. So from that image, who do you think has the best view and why? Or who's the person with the worst view and why?
It's not, honestly, I don't even see any. Only one I do think is the worst view is the one furthest to the right, because it's like you cannot see what they're doing with their life. They're just being like, it's like they're floating. It just looks like they're floating. I love the book smart one with the money, because it's like you're working, you're doing something, you're making something of yourself. It's not just, I like all of them, honestly, because they're doing something with their lives, honestly. So I don't know what to say.
Okay. Actually, I like that point. That's the first time I heard that point, and I definitely think that's a valid point, that everybody did something. And at any given moment, your something can be shifted. So everybody's view
Yes.
isn't permanent. Yeah. That's a good point. Good point. And I think the ultimate goal is that everybody gets this book knowledge and this learning about who you are. Everything on the left, kind of the left side of his foot, is kind of this knowledge, understanding your brand, understanding your goals and your missions, and then hopefully overlapping that with a career that's aligned to the both of them. So if you find yourself as, hey, I'm this outgoing person and I enjoy meeting new people, thinking about what career path is going to fit my personal brand, what career path is aligned with the characteristics that I have. And so the same way that it's good to know what doesn't work for you is going to be equally as good as finding out what does work for you. So excellent point. Um, the other part that I just wanted to mention, which I kind of hit on earlier, is that your uniqueness and your character and your brand is that you are the only you in the world. There's only one you ever, and that's kind of where your superpower is. And so really kind of walking through those, who do people say you are? Who do you say you are? And then who are you truly? And then be bold enough to really stand out and just be yourself and circling yourself around those people. Muhammad Ali was one of my favorite role models, but he said, look, it ain't never been another fighter like me. It ain't never been another nothing like me. So he's letting people know that I'm embracing my uniqueness. I found what my passion was, and he stuck to it. And it doesn't mean that he only had one passion solely to just box, but he was also considered one of a civil rights leader. He was also a religious man. He was also kind of a humanitarian and supporting other people. So don't even feel that your brand has to lock you into one category of your life, that your brand is something that goes wherever you want to go. There's an African proverb, but it says, the lion is the lion wherever the lion goes. So the lion, he's the king of the jungle in the jungle. If he was at the shopping mall, he the king of the shopping mall, because no matter where he goes, his characteristics and his brand doesn't change. And the place that you all should desire to be is that you're so confident in who you are that your brand will not shift with the locations that your 2 feet are. So today, if you on this phone call and you professional and you participate in, make sure you're doing that in school. Make sure you're doing that at church. Make sure you're doing that in other programs that you're affiliated with. Don't adjust your brand to your location. Make your location adjust to who you are. And so the last thing that I just wanted to cover, because I don't want to take up too much time, and then I definitely did want to save time at the end if we had questions and answers. But part of knowing who your brand is and kind of how you portray that physically, or like in this situation, virtually, is also highly important, that who your brand is in person isn't conflicting with what your brand is online. So we living in a social media world, and oftentimes it becomes a conflict that, you this great person in the classroom, but then you a whole nother person on social media, and your brand should be consistent regardless of where you go. So these are just a few examples. You want to start auditing your social media pages, because if you have a desire that, hey, I want to be a school teacher, but then you like F the school system on social media, all of these things are going to catch up with you. So one thing that I would highly recommend that all people do is, once you recognize that you are valuable, which I hope everybody recognize that you are valuable way before you met me. And if you haven't, I'm telling you that you are valuable no matter what your beginnings are. Your future is so much brighter, and you can legitimately become and be whatever you want to be. But with that understanding, you have to start combing through old things that you might be posting, or things that you posting now. And these are just a few images. Things such as like party pictures. That's contrary to your brand. Because if your brand is that, unless you're trying to be a party promoter, but if your brand is anything other than that, these are things that may negatively portray it. Any type of photo that's provocative online, this is the time to start pulling photos. Anything, the top photo to the right, that endorses guns or any form of violence, anything that looks like it could be perceived as violent, delete the pictures. Uh, Blowing smoke, hookahs, weed, marijuana, drugs, anything like that. We all know how easy it is to save a screenshot. And one day, probably 10 years from now, hopefully shorter, but 10 years from now, your life is going to be together. You're going to be finishing up college. You're walking across the stage, and now you're running for mayor, or you're running for a CEO position. You completely qualify for the job. You get to the interview, and what's going to happen? These pictures will leak, and they'll try to portray you one way so you won't get the job. So it's highly important that the things that you are posting online is correlated to who you want to be in the future, and that you're not posting anything that's going to negatively portray you in a negative manner. So these are just things to be conscious with. That it also exists with interactions such as sexting, taking inappropriate pictures, all of those types of things. And then just stuff, so things that we do in private as well as things that we do in public. College admissions, sometimes look at your Facebook profile. Employers, every summer I get an opportunity to hire young people. The first thing I do is I look you up on social media. And then I've heard young people say, well, you're not my friend on social media, so why can't you see, you can't see my page? I'll find a young person who do know you, log into the computer and walk away. That way I could comb through everybody's page. And on the very first day that all of my students meet me, I actually print off a picture that I found on their social media page, and I give them their own picture and let them know that that picture conflicts with my brand. Therefore, it's going to conflict with your brand. And I would challenge everybody to start cleaning these things up. So you never want the stuff that you post online to become an interference with employment as well as scholarship. So there's no judgment in it, because it's not that I'm telling you to delete it. Today's challenge is for you to really truly think about, where do you want to be at in the future, and start thinking today, is there anything that's on my social media profiles that conflicts with that future? So it's a challenge more so than it is a judgment. So no judgment whatsoever. It's just an individual challenge that I would highly recommend that everybody do, because in the real world, you do lose out on opportunities. We see it every day of people getting fired from their job because they posted something on Twitter. We see that every day. And we see cancel culture is becoming more and more of a reality. And I guess what I'm not, I guess what I'm saying, but what I'm saying is challenging everybody to be conscious of where you truly desire to be at in life, and then assuring that you're not making any bad or a poor judgment decisions that's going to hurt you later on in the future, if that makes sense. So I get what you're
Yeah,
saying too. Yeah,
Jordan, can I interrupt you for a second?
absolutely.
So we have an employment agency, and so we look at resumes every day. I mean, hundreds of resumes we're looking at, and if there's somebody that we're interested in bringing on, if we're thinking about hiring them and sending them out on an assignment, one of the first things that we do, especially since COVID, because we can't meet everybody in person any longer, one of the first things that we do is look to see if they have a social media presence. We'll look at their Facebook page, we'll look at their LinkedIn account, and if there's anything that appears, again, no judgment, but if there's anything that appears like it doesn't match with what we're trying to hire them for, then we won't consider them. So employers do really look at your social media and make decisions about whether or not they hire you based off of that.
Excellent point. I appreciate that feedback. Yeah, man, and it's definitely it's practically part of almost like a background check to an extent. Is that agencies want to see how do you represent yourself, because when you get hired in, you'll be representing the agency. So it's definitely it might be newly trending for some that might be on the phone call, but it's definitely something that's happening consistent. I think the correlation to the COVID situation is definitely causing more people to do it. So excellent point. So kind of part of that audit is one, your social media, and then two, even your email address. So getting into the practice of having a professional email address, like first dot last name or something like that. So if you got the email like 313 Thug City at Yahoo, that's probably not appropriate to be getting a job. Or Hot Mama 37, that type of stuff. So making sure that you have, and there's nothing wrong to have that email, but just when you're applying for jobs and things of that nature, employment, you want to make sure that you have a professional email, because social media is becoming kind of the one-stop shop for information. And over to the right, this is just kind of just some other things to think about when you're doing your audit, is that the photos that you are uploading or the memes or the images, what is it conveying? And if you find that, okay, I want to go be a social worker, but some of the stuff that I posted in the past, it was conveying stuff because I was mad, then okay, it's probably not aligned. So maybe it might be a good decision to delete it. So then when employers and individuals do look at your profile, they see the positive side, because we all know some people, once they get mad, they go straight to social media. And I'm like, once you get mad, sit back and reflect before you make any sudden move, because with the online world, the moment it's posted, it's out there forever. All it is a screenshot, it's a save. So even when you do delete it, it might still be out there. So the more we can start practicing this on a consistent basis of really thinking through the content that we post, more likely we'll be able to prevent this from happening in the future. And I think I have maybe like 2 or 3 more slides after this, but these are just when you're thinking about the stuff that you share online, share useful content on a regular basis. So if you want to be a millionaire, posting those financial quotes is going to match your brand. And so people going to be like, man, they really about their business, because the stuff that they're pursuing in life, it matches their online life as well. Picking a screen name that represents you. So it shouldn't be this thug, this or diva, this stuff like that. Let it represent you. Make it Brown Billionaire. Make it future president, future whatever. Like post stuff that's inspirational, affirmations and things of
I'm
that
sorry,
nature.
may I just interrupt for a second?
Yep, go for it.
I agree about but I feel like as time progresses, and yes, like social media is a big deal, like people can find anything about you pretty much, but I feel like, social media, I feel like people should be smart enough or like know enough to not like base someone necessarily off of their social media, because like a lot of people just use social media to post like either like just the fun times that they're having, whether it's like, oh, like I went to, Italy and I had wine, or, I went to Colorado and I had a smoke, or just something like that, or, having good times with their adult friends because they're adults, or just like other things, or like if they have like a view and, they wanted to state it, or if they did feel bad that day. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like that kind of should go with like a lot of privacy laws, because it's like, yes, I can honestly say I do post some things on the internet that represent me as a person and what I want to do for people and how can I impact? Absolutely not. I mean, like it's like a girl could post that she likes drinking wine every Friday, but that doesn't mean she can't be like a social
Girl,
worker
I
or like a
agree.
teacher.
Yes,
It's
I
like
agree.
it's separate.
Right. And I would definitely agree with you that people should have personal and a private life. But the dilemma becomes the moment that it get so having a personal moment and then posting it public, the moment it's posted public is no longer a privacy concern or a public dilemma. And so I do agree and respect everything that everybody is sharing. I'm just letting everybody know what it is in the real world. And it doesn't mean that it's right and it doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means to be aware. And so that's the part where I completely agree with you on that. There's nothing wrong with, what individuals do. I think the dilemma becomes the things that you do in private, the moment that you post it in public, is open for everybody's perceptions of what it might
Yeah.
be. And so I don't want anybody to feel
Yeah,
like
that's
there's
100%
judgment
right.
in it. I just want people to be aware of how individuals, that the FBI and the government, they find crime by analyzing people's social media. Another way to think of it is that anything that is free, you are the one being sold. So when you think how free it is to have all of these social media profiles, they're selling your information. So when you type in that my birthday is on said date, this is my gender, this is my geographic neighborhood, they track all of the stuff that you do online. So I'm sure, here's a flawless example. I'm sure everybody has been on like Facebook or social media before, and then you open up a new browser and you like search for like some shoes or something that you wanted to buy. The next time you went to social media, you start seeing the ads. That's how social media works. They sell your tracking and things of that nature to private companies who learn how you all think, learn the things that you search for, and that's how they know what to advertise to you. And so it does become kind of this privacy concern type thing. But at the end of the day, my challenge to everybody is just be conscious and be aware of how people view certain views. And again, it don't make it right or wrong. And I'm a firm believer that if you have issues with decisions made at the table, do whatever it takes to make it to the table, and then you could change it. So I work with a lot of young people, and they'll say, "Man, I hate school uniforms," and I'd be all like, "Hey, you should go open up your own school, no uniforms." And they like, man, I never thought of it that way. So really finding out what solutions and what other ways can, maybe there's some app that stops them from tracking it. Maybe there's some app that you can hide things. So it kind of, here's an issue, but then using that innovation and creativity to figure out what ways can we solve for this so everybody can kind of enjoy, the social media dynamic. But these are just things, just to be aware of. So I definitely agree with what everybody is saying. The other bullet points, I think they're kind of self-explanatory. Not disclosing financial information, don't provide confidential information online and things of that nature. And then just being cautious of ethnic slurs, personal insults, and things of that nature as well. And then I'm wrapping to a close. But then part of your brand is also who you are as an individual, is who you are, physically, mentally, spiritually, financially, academically, and making sure that you are creating holistic goals. So some people just have a goal, hey, I just want to be a doctor when I grow up. But that's just a career goal. What about your financial goal? What about a family goal? What about a investment goal? So really walking through every aspect of who you are and setting up a goal. So a financial goal, having an academic goal, and with the importance that when you rise to the top, you always got to send the elevator back down, because some people can rise to the top and forget where they came from. So it's always very important to send the elevator back down. A personal goal. One of my personal goals is that I want to read more. So I'm a type, I'm not going to be able to read a whole book in one day. My life just isn't set up like that. But if I could read one chapter a day or 2 pages a day, I've built goals around that individual personal goal. And that's how I actually achieve it. Same thing with social goals. There's a quote that your net worth is your network. So to an extent that you are as valuable as the people that you hang around with. So assuring that people in your circle are there, that their brand don't conflict with you as well, because you don't want to get put into any unnecessary trouble based on people that you may hang around with. And then lastly, just making sure that you have good role models. And my key thing is role model. So a role model is that somebody who's modeling the role. So I often tell people, if I ask everybody who's your role model and somebody say, oh, mine's Kanye West or this person, if you were to hit the lottery and became filthy rich and your role model changes, that was never your role model from the beginning. You just wanted what they had. So assuring that you're choosing role models that actually did something for you. And they could be role models that already lived their life and gone. It can be a mentor. It can be somebody you know, or just somebody you've never met before that you just inspire to be. But you can really learn a lot of what their brand is and how they speak and how they communicate and things of that nature by having really solid role models. And then lastly, I'm pretty positive this is my last slide. It's just leaving you all with these two questions. Just kind of do a self-evaluation of where you are right now with understanding your brand and making sure that your brand is aligned to where you want to be in the future. And if you find things that are out there like, all right, yeah, this doesn't really fit my brand, really thinking about what is it going to take for you to get to the brand that you want to be at. So, for instance, somebody mentioned about cussing earlier, and I tell people, look, you're not going to just stop cussing in one day. So my thing is, if you cuss 30 times yesterday, cuss 29 times today. Tomorrow, cuss 28 times, because nobody's going to be able to shut things off with an on and off switch and change things that immediate. But if you put a strategy and a process behind it, hey, in 1 month, you could have started off cussing and completely phased cussing completely out of your vocabulary if that's the goal that you chose to set. But just kind of really thinking about where you are today, and then what are the steps that you need to take to actually get to where you are. And this is kind of a commitment that I want everybody to personally take. And maybe you jot these 3 bullet points down. Maybe you take a screenshot of this particular image. But this is kind of the commitment that I would challenge everybody to take with your brand. And it's really just completing these sentences. And actually, we can kind of end this session on this if anybody was willing to come off the mic. But I will, and tell me what you will do. I am. Tell me a positive affirmation about yourself. And then I can. Tell me what you can do. And I always challenge people to eliminate the words try, maybe, and possibly. So there is no such thing as try. If I gave you my phone right here and I said try to take it out my hand, the only options that is going to exist in the end is you took it out of my hand or you did not take it out of my hand. There's no such thing as the word try. So really making those true commitments that I will be this, I am great, or I am amazing, or I can achieve, I can whatever. So let's kind of end that meeting on some positive affirmations correlated to our brand. So I'm going to give this moment back to you all. And if anybody just want to jump off the mic, or if you can't jump off the mic and you just want to drop it in the chat, let me know what I will, I am, I can. Well, I am at the end of my presentation. There's my contact information. If anybody ever had any questions just about life, recommendations on career paths and things of that nature, or you just need some motivation because you going through a tough time, there's my contact information on that slide. I definitely appreciate everybody's participation in this session. I hope everybody realized that you do have a dynamic brand and you have positive characteristics about yourself, and these things are all going to be aligned to the bright future that you have. And like I said before, I'm challenging everybody to just do a personal audit on your whole life. Are you the type of person that change up based on the atmosphere that you're in, or is your brand consistent? And making sure that you just have that positive brand where you're able to inspire others to be great just like you already are. So thank you all for your time. I could open it up for question and answer, but I'm going to transition it back into the hands of the program staff, and you can kind of let me know what's next.
Okay. Any last questions for Jordan?
No, thank you though. That was nice. Like this was cool. I love hearing like positive stuff from someone who's like me. You know what I'm saying?
Excellent. Thank you.
As you all know, this is the sixth session of 6 sessions. So it's the final session that this round. We're going to start again in the summer. However, those will probably be in person. But don't worry, if you want to go back and watch some of our older sessions, you can access them by going to our YouTube channel. Alex will share that with you in just a minute. Before we get to that, I would like to tell you that the more you participate in our sessions, even by watching on YouTube, the more chances that you have to receive an incentive for participating. So basically what we're doing is tracking. That's why I asked for your email addresses and your full names. If you haven't provided that for me, please send it to me in the chat or Alex in the chat. So the more times that you participate, the more times that you watch one of our sessions, your name will be recorded and we will give gift cards to those of you that participate the most. So there is an incentive. And some of the sessions that we've had, including this one today, which was awesome, some of the other sessions are really informative as well. We had one on how to do your taxes. We had one on living on your own. We had one on financial aid resources for college students. So we've had some really informative sessions. So with that, I will pass it over to Alex and she'll tell you about our social media and then we'll let you guys go.
All right, so real quick, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram under UTools, well, at UTools College Prep. We are also we post videos regularly on the UMD Trio Programs YouTube channel. If you are watching on the channel right now, be sure to go into the description and fill out the survey. And you can also find us under the departmental website of the University of Michigan Dearborn under UTools. And if by any chance you ever need to reach out to us, like just for whatever reason, you can find us under utoolscollegeprep@gmail.com. And also feel free to give a follow to our sponsor, MCAN, under MI College Access.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Anything else for the good of the order?
No, that was an excellent presentation. Thank you.
Yes. Thanks, Jordan.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.